welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Imani Nia. I am back. I know I have been in hibernation for a while, haven't been posting, but tune back in. I'm gonna be posting more videos. I've just been living, but my next video is going to catch you guys up with what's been going on with me. Today I wanted to show you guys how to set up an ancestral altar. I already set it up. I wanted to show you guys all the key things to have on your altar and also some other alternatives if you are not in the space to set up an ancestral altar. First thing that is really important to have on your ancestral altar is a white cloth. It is just tradition to have a white cloth, especially in like hoodoo or African spirituality. I believe in voodoo as well, but just amongst the African diaspora, it's just to reset the vibe and reset the energy and also protect your energy. So some people I know use like African print, kente cloth, whatever. As long as it's clean and you keep up with it, that's all that matters. The surfaces that you can use for an altar, it could be a small table like this. It could be a bigger table like a dinner table that's pushed against the wall. That's typically what my grandmother uses, or like an end table, like a high end table. I don't know what you call those. The tables where you come into the house and you like put like your mail and stuff on, and they're pretty long. A table like that, a wardrobe kind of thing where it has like glass, or even in the corner of your floor and you just put chalk around it and bless it. But as long as it's a brand new area and you keep it clean, and you also don't want to put things on here that you're going to be picking up and moving, that you use every day or is in your everyday use. You want to specifically have things just for your ancestors. So water, earth, fire, and air. So you have your glasses of water. They're not filled, but you have your glasses of water. I personally like to have 2 for my maternal and paternal side. And then I know some people that have like 1 glass or have like 8 glasses or 12 glasses. It depends on you and how you were taught and what aligns with your culture. I personally like to use 2 glasses, again, for my paternal and maternal side. Under the glasses of water, you should have a sheet of paper with your ancestors' names on it. This is why it's important to talk to your elders about your ancestors or your parents about your ancestors. If you are in a predicament where you are not able to have that access, I recommend to just put your last name down, or a relative that you remember. I'm sorry, T'Challa is biting me. A relative that you remember. Not having names is okay, but when you pray, just specifically say, like, I'm calling on my ancestors with my best interest. Just so you don't call on some unwanted ancestors that don't have your best interest. So the next element is fire. I like to use candles, especially when I'm praying. When I come to my altar, I typically light a candle, or if I feel like I really need some protection, I light a candle. Again, white is used for protection, purifying, wholeness. Also use alcohol as the element of fire to represent the element of fire. You can also use incense. Going into the next element, air. I personally use incense in the element of air because of the smoke, but some people use it in the element of fire because you have to burn it and smoke again. But that's just how I use it. You can also use a feather for the element of air. It's up to you. Again, your altar is your altar. Your grandmother cooks rice completely different than how my grandmother cooks rice. Just, you know, figure out what works for you. The next element we have is earth. Earth can be represented by using plants or flowers. These are some things that aren't necessary for an ancestral altar, but I like to keep them on my altars. I like to keep an ancestral bell or an altar bell or whatever you want to call it, just so I can call on my ancestors when I'm ready to pray or when I want to greet them with offering. Another thing I like to keep on my altar is some type of divination tool to communicate with them. I like to use cards because, of course, I'm a card reader. Some people use dice, or you can use cowrie shells. It's so many, or a pendulum. It's so many different things that you can use to connect with their ancestors. I also like to decorate my altar. Typically, I like to have, this is just a mock altar, but typically I like to have candy, or I put a lot of card shells on my altar. I also like to keep tobacco, like cigars or cigarettes, on my altar for my ancestors. A lot of my ancestors used to smoke. I like to keep libations on my altar. That's like a cup full of alcohol, like liquor, rum, whiskey, etc., or a cup of coffee. I also like to keep statues on my altar, more so for decoration purposes. Of course, I have a woman and a man, just to represent the masculine and feminine energy, my maternal and paternal side. Just remember that the left side is your feminine energy and the right side is your masculine energy. Some other things I like to keep on my altar: Florida water. Florida water specifically so that I can cleanse myself before I step to my ancestors. And of course, y'all can purchase some Florida water. Come on, focus. Yes, y'all can purchase some Florida water from buyism.com, my website. I sell some. I make my very own Florida water, and it smells so good too. Another thing I like to use are incense. These are one of my incense. I have some out of the package. Another thing you can get off of my website, I have moonstone and sunstone. Moonstone is specifically made for an ancestral altar or for smudging, and connecting to your intuition and connecting to the moon and tapping more so into your frequency. But I like to burn incense, especially in a way to greet them, to let them know that I want to talk to them. I personally like to burn incense on my altar. Another thing I feel like you should have, especially if you live with other people or you have to have your altar in your room, I recommend to get a room divider because it allows your ancestors to have their own sacred privacy, especially if you are, you know, having intercourses or changing, whatever, just so you know the privacy of your ancestors is respected. And then also, if people are going to be walking around, if you have roommates or whatever, you don't want everybody to see your altar. The evil eye is real. People can project negativity. People can project negativity onto your altar. So it's good to have a room divider just to keep it, just to protect them. And also, some people, it can be taboo for you to be on your cycle and be in front of your altar. I feel like you have to ask, or you have to ask your elders, or it may come up in a reading. But for those who that does align with, having a room divider, it will definitely help. Another very important thing I like to have with my altar are photos. You can have them framed, or you can take them on the wall as long as they're near your altar or above your altar. Or having like jewelry or anything that connects, that was your ancestors, having that on your altar. But back to the photos, the key thing with having photos on your altar, you have to be sure, you have to make sure that you do not have any pictures of anyone currently alive. That is taboo. We do not do that. We say that that kind of speeds up the process. Just think about it. Just think about it. It's an ancestral altar. You don't want to have somebody that's not an ancestor on your altar. So just make sure you don't have no pictures of you, have no pictures of anybody that's still alive on your altar. Some things that you can do if you're not able to have an altar, you can set up an ancestral altar outside simply by going to a tree, placing rocks or sticks to surround the tree to block it off. You know, like in SpongeBob, how they did the circle? You could do the same thing, put rocks and stuff to like create like a sacred space for the tree. I preferably like to go to big trees, like ancestral trees, like trees that have been there for generations, and I set up the rocks and I bring offerings. I speak over the offering, I say my prayer, I call on my ancestors with my best interest, I say my prayer, I ask for what I need, or I just show gratitude and give thanks to them for protecting me and guiding me, and I leave the offering at the tree. The food out, it could be food that you cook, it could be food that you buy, but be intentional with who you buy your food from, especially for your ancestors, because people can project and put energy into the food. I would just stick to food that you make, but leave the food there and walk away. Do not look back, because you are claiming, especially if you are asking for something, you do not want to claim what you just asked for because you just left the offering there. So you're sending it to your ancestors. So if you look back, you're claiming it. So I hope this video was some assistance to some of you all in your new journey, your new spiritual journey, and just starting an ancestral altar. If you all have any questions, please comment down below. If you have a different way of setting up your ancestral altar, please comment down below. I love to hear and see how other people and their cultures and their families set up their altars. Again, how you do it is how you do it. Just follow the important taboos that I mentioned. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please stay tuned for more videos. I will be posting as often as I can, and I will be sharing more spiritual content. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a nice one. Peace.